Welcome to the Community Collective podcast. I'm Johnny B. Good, the flip-flop agent, and I've partnered with the Davison Area Chamber of Commerce to bring you the stories that shape our local communities. In our third season, our focus is about connecting, learning, and celebrating the voices that make our communities unique. Join us during this third season as we engage in thoughtful conversations and insightful moments. This podcast is commercial-free and supported by both myself, my co-host, and our guests. We would be so appreciative if you could like, share, and subscribe as we continue having conversations that matter and cannot thank you enough for taking the time to listen. Welcome back to a new episode of the Community Collective podcast. I am Johnny B. Good, the flip-flop agent, and I am joined today by my partner in crime. Feels like there's been a few episodes that, he's had to do by himself or I've had to do by myself. So it's good to have the entire team back in the building. Travis, how are you doing, my friend?
Oh, I am great. I completely agree. It's nice to have the team back. And I think today's episode, I'm pumped about it. I think we all get excited about so many things, but this one already kind of, not that I want to rush summer away, but our guest today has me excited for fall already.
Oh, me too. Me too. Well, and I'm coming off that high from the NFL draft, being in Detroit this past weekend. And oh my gosh, we couldn't have a more timely guest for this week's episode. I mean, what do you think, Travis?
Oh man. And talk about really making a statement that we are a football state. If the draft didn't show that, I think it definitely shows now that we are gung-ho and ready. So, Well, good. It's nice to have you on here with me and getting caught up a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited about this guest today.
Yeah, so I'd like to take a second to welcome in Coach Jake Weingartz from the Davison athletic program. He's a master of many things, but he's most well known for being our head coach and leading the program over there for the Davison Cardinals. Coach, how you doing today?
Good, guys. How are you? I appreciate you having me.
Oh, man, we're super stoked. And I always love that energy. My kids always get both you and Dave confused because you guys you're always walking around with authority. You're always a man on a mission. You're never just, meandering about. You're always walking around with purpose. And my kids know that's the way I like to do things. So I appreciate them being like, is that Mr. Beamer or Coach Weingartz? I'm like, it doesn't matter. They're one and the same. It feels like at times.
Yeah, no. Oh, that happens. That happens daily in the hallways. And I can't tell you how many times coming out at halftime for a game, the official will walk up to Dave and ask him which way he wants to kick. And he's going to say, well, no, I'm not at Coach Weingartz is over there. So it happens a lot.
Right. Ain't that the truth? Well, we know that you are an extremely busy gentleman. We appreciate you taking the time. So we're going to jump right into it here. And the first question I have for you kind of focuses on your coaching philosophy. With a decade of coaching under your belt, if not more, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and such a stunning record, could you share with us some of the core tenets of your coaching philosophy and how you've really come to cultivate a culture of success within Davison High School and even other programs that you've been involved with?
Yeah, so this upcoming fall will actually be my 17th year.
Wow.
Coaching varsity football. Yeah, I started right out of college, got done playing at Wayne State, and my first season I was 22, so this will be year number 17 for me. But I mean, as far as, coaching philosophy, hard work, dedication, discipline gets it done, and I try to really hammer home with our kids. Games aren't won in the fall. Championships are not won in the fall. They're won in January, February, March, April, May, June, leading up to that season. The work that you put in, the camaraderie within the team that you build, and really all of that culture stuff starts in the weight room. So we have a huge emphasis on our strength and conditioning program, and that starts in January. And again, if the kids are going to buy in, they have to see that you're bought in. They have to trust you, So one of the things that I've always tried to do with my kids, with coaching, with the weight room, whatever it may be, nobody's going to outwork me, and if those 16, 17, 18-year-old kids see that, the ones that care and want to, they're going to jump on board, So day in and day out, I try to have a great work ethic, and then too, I mean, one of the biggest things that I've always cultivated in our program and any program that I've ever been in is just a family atmosphere. I don't care if you're offensive tackle that's got 16 Power 5 offers or the, scout team cornerback. Everybody's going to get treated the same by me. Everybody's going to get treated the same by their teammates, their coaches. Not one individual is bigger than the next in our team and our program, respectively.
No, and that's such a fantastic philosophy. I was able to actually pick up something from one of my kids' coaches this past winter, and he said the only two things I concern myself with, and granted, my kids are in second grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade, but it's attitude and effort. It's attitude and effort. Have the right attitude, and we want to see 110% effort all the time. The results are going to be the results.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we really hammer home too is you just can't be good at something part of the time. I mean, you can't be a good student part of the time. If you are part of the time, you're not going to do very well in class. If you want to be a great football player, you just can't turn it on Friday night. It's got to be how you carry yourself in the weight room, how you carry yourself in the classroom, how you practice. And then if you do all those things well with great effort and execution, then you're going to have a chance to be successful on Friday night. So it's kind of just getting into that continuality role and trying to be good at no matter what it is that you do daily. And if you do that, you're going to put yourself in a position to be successful.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's such an important aspect being ingratiated with our community as well. I loved seeing the high school boys at the different schools, in the fall when they were greeting the students. Oh my God, my fifth grader was jumping out of his shoes. He wouldn't even wait for me to get the car in park. He's like, Dad, I got to go say hi.
Well, my son was talking about that already. He goes, Dad, I need you to get me a white color backpack for next year. That way I can get it full of autographs. So it's that excitement, Coach, that you're building. I think, especially with the younger players that are the future, and just including everyone, is amazing to see. Because that excitement, I see my son, he's going into fourth grade this next year, and he's able to start tackle football. And he's already started talking about, someday when I play, I got to do this. I got to go outside right now and run my sprints because I need to get ready for, when I play for the Cardinals someday. So it is that mentality, and getting the current players interacting with the younger ones, I think, is a great influence.
Yeah, we try to do a lot of community stuff. March was reading month, so I had about 20, 30 of my guys go throughout the elementaries, and they went and read to classes. They had their jerseys on. We'll go to, Johnny was saying, we'll go to different schools and, greet the kids when they come in and just be present there and let them know that we're thinking about them, and all their support, is huge. I mean, when we come in pregame or at halftime, I mean, there's 20, 30 little kids there trying to get autographs, and that's one thing that I tell our guys, like, listen, you've got to act the right way because you've got, a whole community of little kids looking up to you guys like you're NFL players. So, you got to act the right way in the classroom. You got to act the right way on the field. You got to act the right way in the community because those little kids are looking up to you and they're going to act as you do. So I think we've done a really good job acting the right way, playing with discipline. If anybody that's watched any of our games, I mean, we rarely have a personal foul. We rarely have any attitude issues. So we've done a really good job of that. And it sets a good precedent for those younger guys on, that we expect in our football program, not only to be great on the field with the wins and losses, but also just how we carry ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that leads into my next question is, having been named the coach of the week by the Detroit Lions, which is super cool, by the way, what role do you feel like high school sports, and at least in your particular instance, football, how does that play in bringing together and uplifting the local community?
Oh, I think everybody has a common interest. Everybody has a common goal. Everybody's rooting for the same thing. I always think about 2019 when, we're in the Ford Field tunnel, and I'd been to the state championship. I'd obviously watched games. I had never coached in one. When we ran out, I mean, it took your breath away, just the amount of Davison fans that were in those stands. And a good friend of mine is Rob Rubik, and he's been announcing state title games for the last 20, 30 years. He said in his career, that was the most packed he'd ever seen a state championship game. So, it gives everybody a lot of hope. It gives everybody a lot of excitement, and being able to go somewhere Friday night, being able to follow a team. And that's the one thing, again, be the team that those people want to follow, be the team that is going to make those people in the stands, community members, family, friends, staff, it's going to make them proud. So again, that's something we really try to do a good job of on and off the field.
Yeah, without a doubt. And my wife and I were there at that 2019 game, and man, oh man, what an absolute riot going to that game was. And you're not kidding. There was thousands upon thousands of gold shirt wearing people there just cheering on the Cardinals, man. It was so exhilarating.
Yeah, it was nuts.
So, Coach, one thing that we're already talking about that state championship, but I mean, leading to Davison's first Division I state championship in 2019, it must have been an exhilarating experience. I can only imagine, I mean, being a fan, but being on that field and in that intense moment. And for as long as the game goes on, can you kind of walk us through what that journey was like for you as a coach, but then also to see how it was for your players going through that season?
Yeah, going into that season, obviously the year before that was my first year. We were 7-3, made it to the playoffs, lost in the first round, got beat by a pretty good Oxford team. And then going into that second year, I mean, there was a lot of unknowns. Brendan Sullivan had never started a game at quarterback. We had a lot of other really young guys that hadn't played a huge role before. Started the season off great. We were 6-0 to start the year. Actually, sorry, we were 7-0. And then we ended up losing 2 of our last games. We lost to De La Salle, and then we actually lost to Lapeer the last week of the season in triple overtime. Brendan got hurt. His non-throwing shoulder he separated his AC joint. So going into that first round game, we were playing Romeo. We were the 4th seed in our district. That first round, we went down 21-7 early. Great Romeo team, man. They played fast. They were physical. We go into halftime, and pretty much the seniors said, "Hey, listen, it's freaking do or die. Like, we're not losing." Came back, ended up beating them by pretty considerable amount. And then from there, up until the state title game, I mean, we were down in every single playoff game. We played Lapeer round 2 in the district finals at Lapeer, and they had just beat us, 2 weeks prior. Tight game, ended up beating them 41, I think 21. Next round, we played Utica Eisenhower. We were down again, ended up coming back, winning. The state semifinal, we were at Troy Athens, and played Sterling Heights Stevenson. I remember looking, we were the better team on paper that day. We ended up turning the ball over 4 times in the first half. Come out in the second half, we score, they score. I remember looking up at the clock, and there was probably 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, and we were down 27, and you're just kind of going, oh my gosh, are we going to blow this? But ended up coming back, scoring late, tying it, forcing overtime, and beat them in overtime. And then, first state title game, I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on, man. Interviews, and, they're walking us through the hall, and tons of hoopla, but I mean, our guys were focused, and that was one of the scary things as a coach. I mean, you get to Ford Field. I mean, we're sitting in the Detroit Lions locker room, it's gorgeous. And our guys were just locked in. I mean, there was no screwing around. It was nothing. It was silent. Take the field, and we jumped on them quick. We went up 21-3 early and just kind of held on and rode it out from there.
I mean, I can only imagine as high school players being in those situations. And then you mentioned just sitting inside the Lions locker room. I mean, Johnny, I feel like you and I would be sitting there like just, I think, in awe too as adults. So I can imagine being a young kid going through all this excitement, but just staying so focused. And I know, Coach, even from your first year, you've built such a strong program that I feel Davison is consistently considered such a high-level team, and our fans travel. I mean, I know I have kids that reach the age now that I think every Friday night they expect to go to a game, no matter where it's at, which I love. But it is. I think it's that mentality that it's a community, that we're there for the team because they are really going everywhere like so many sports and representing Davison. And it's exciting, too. I know this year was an exciting year, too. We had some really good wins. The team was playing really well. So it's that excitement over all these years since that state championship just continues to grow.
Yeah. We've made it to 3 out of the last 5 state semifinals, which is pretty dang good. We've been blessed with a lot of really good players. We have a great coaching staff. One thing that a lot of people don't realize, on our varsity coaching staff, outside of myself, we have 5 other coaches that have been head coaches in their career, and doesn't matter how good a coach you are, you have to surround yourself with great coaches as well. And we're blessed to have, I'm biased, but I don't think there's a better staff collectively in the state of Michigan than what we have here at Davison.
Right. Well, I think it's a testament right there that these individuals, have been head coaches before, want to be part of a program that's community focused, player focused. And I think, like you mentioned, it's that family atmosphere that they want to be part of. And I think I love it that you're making sure that they are included in everything. And you can tell that when you're watching you guys on the sideline. Of course, it's intense and a lot of excitement going on. But I will say, as someone that really likes to people watch and just watching the interaction with the players, it's great seeing that. And, I point that out to my kids too. It's like, hey, this is, what it's like. You see these coaches, they care about those players and they're working with them to make sure they're out there doing the best they can and representing our community, which is good. And I like that too. No, this is like, I was just curious for myself. What are kind of the roles of all the coaches? You're the head, but kind of what do you have going on? What are all the ones that are helping out? What are the kind of their backgrounds a little bit? How did they find Davison?
Yeah, so, we're extremely blessed to have a lot of coaches. We're pretty much like a college staff. So obviously I'm the head coach, offensive coordinator. Tim Pizzala, who was the head coach at Brandon for 7 years. He's our wide receivers coach. Joe Boyster, who played at Michigan State. He made it to the Elite 11. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's like the top quarterbacks in the country. He made it to that when he was in high school. He's our quarterback coach. Brad Brown, who was the head coach at Flushing, Swartz Creek. He coaches our running backs. Mike Sullivan, who started at tackle for the University of Michigan, was a head coach at Corunna, was a defensive coordinator at New Lothrop. He coaches our O-line. He was a projected second-round pick coming out of Michigan. Ended up having a really bad back injury, so he wasn't able to continue his career. Defensively, everybody knows Blaze Glenny. He coaches our D-line. He's been around forever. He won a state title at Montrose. He was here when Putnam was here. He's been our D coordinator for every year since I've been here. Our linebackers coach is Dean Leach. He used to be the head coach at Flint Northern when a lot of those Flintstones were going through. He's been here with me for the last 7 years. We actually brought back an old Davison player, Anthony Fordham, who coaches our safeties. He went and played at Grand Valley. And then we have Ryan Schlack, who coaches our corners. He won 2 national championships at Division III Mount Union. So, all of our coaches have extensive playing experience, coaching experience, and just like it is with the kids, there's no one coach that's bigger than the next. We got to collaborate and collectively put ourselves and extend ourselves to the kids and give everything we got to put them in the best possible situation and position on Friday nights to be successful, and our coaches work extremely hard. It's not a 5-day work week for us. We practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You got game Friday, Saturday. We do all of our own film work. So that way, when we come in Sunday, coaches come in Sunday at noon, and then we separate and get into our meetings and put the game plan in. So it's a 7-day-a-week job from, August until hopefully Thanksgiving, and our coaches do a great job of that.
Yeah. Well, no, thanks for sharing that. And I think that gives our listeners a great idea of what it's like to be part of that coaching staff, to make sure the team's getting ready, that the players, have these great role models that they can look up to that says, hey, I had this coaching experience, but also playing experience too. I'm sure that makes a big difference in their mentality too, saying, okay, my coach played at college level. I want to be like that, or I want to work just as hard to reach that level where he knows I can get to. So kind of going into that, I know the future of any program is developing young talent or, youth in the community. So in your tenure as coach, how do you approach the development of young players, not just on the field, but also in their personal growth and academic achievements?
Yeah, as far as development, the first thing you got to do is develop those younger coaches, extend yourself to them. We have staff meetings with our younger coaches, going over offensive scheme, defensive scheme, technique, skills, drills, all that stuff. So, to make that transition easier from, youth tackle football, then to middle school, then to high school. You'll see me at pretty much every one of the Saturday games for our tackle kids, just kind of being present, letting those kids and coaches and parents know that you're there to watch, you care. So, first thing, it starts with developing the younger level coaches, helping them out, being a resource for them, to how to coach the kids, giving them drills and all that kind of stuff. As far as academics, we put that number one. We are students first. We are athletes second, and I make it around to a lot of the our middle school, and I meet with those upcoming 7th grade football players, 8th grade football players, incoming 9th grade football players, and just kind of, explain to them the standard that is expected at Davison. And it starts in the classroom, because you can't be, a part-time student and expect to be a full-time football player. That's just not how life works. That's not how football works, and that's the same stuff that I portray to our varsity kids. If you want to be good at something, you've got to be good at it day in and day out. It's not something, I can't be a bad dad and then go think I'm going to be a good coach. Whatever it is that you do in life, you're going to put your 110% heart and effort into it. And if you do that, you have great effort, you have great execution, then you're going to be successful, So it just goes back to effort, helping those lower level coaches out, being present, going into the elementaries, talking to the kids, getting them excited to come out and play football. We do youth camps, we do youth night in the fall for all of our youth football players. So again, just getting them excited and making yourself present and just kind of being there.
Well, I know I just took time this morning to sign my son up for the youth camp that you guys do in June. Oh man, he did it
June
last
8th.
year and loved it. Yeah, June 8th through December to sign up for. He still talks about it and wears that shirt, and he was more excited that the varsity players were out there working with them.
Oh yeah.
And and then he followed that through the season. And if there's one of them he recognized, he'd walk up to him and he goes, "Hey, I saw you at camp." And those high school kids are good. They might not remember who he is, but they interacted with him and gave him high fives. One player this last year gave him one of his catching gloves, and
Yeah.
I think it's framed in his room right now. So it's just like those like little things like that have made such a
Yeah.
big difference I see in my son. So I can only imagine when I think that youth camp usually has 100 something kids from
Oh yeah.
all over the
It's
area.
a big deal.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think that's important too. I think that you're doing that focus on, all the coaches, the players, making sure that it's that family atmosphere, but then you're continuing that into, the middle school, showing them that, hey, the high school coach and the players are watching us to see when we're ready, when we get older. But then also going down to these elementary age ones and just seeing that influence on them, getting them excited and seeing what they can learn. And Johnny's a parent too of kids, that just these opportunities that the football program and other sports programs at the high school are offering is amazing. As a parent, I couldn't ask for better opportunities just to get my kids active and excited about what's going on.
Yeah. And everything obviously starts at the top, and I've worked for a lot of athletic directors in my 17 years in coaching and athletics. And there is not a single AD in the state that can come close to Dave Beamer. He sets the example. Nobody works harder than that guy. Nobody cares more than that guy. For example, last week, our freshman baseball team did not have a bus driver to take them to Bay City Central. They had to leave at 1:00. He dropped everything that he was doing, loaded them up on the bus. Dave drove all the way up to Bay City Central, dropped them off, drove back, and then got ready for lacrosse game that we had at home that night. So that just kind of gives you an example of Dave's work ethic, his apathy, and just how much he cares about Davison students, Davison athletics, and our community as a whole.
Man, I agree. I wish I could just bottle up a little bit of Dave's energy and have it for myself sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it, man. He's, his office is right off the gym. I'm a gym teacher, and I rarely see the guy. He's gone to this meeting, he's gone to that meeting, he's out lining fields. He does everything.
Well, and we've kind of, as we near the end of the interview today, we've talked about this, I think, in each question that we've asked, but let's really drill down into it. Football, sports, but more specifically football in your instance, is often credited with teaching a lot of valuable life lessons. What are some of the key lessons you've learned, both as a player, because you had high school, you had college, and then now as a coach, that you can kind of pass on to your players? And how do these lessons extend beyond the field?
Yeah, I mean, that's why football is the greatest sport on this planet. Teaches you dedication, because if you want to be good, you're going to show up every day. Starting in January, you're going to show up in the weight room every day in the summer. You're going to grind, you're going to run. So dedication, discipline, the value of hard work, and then in football, there's 11 guys on the football field. So putting your team above yourself in regards to success, I mean, I might be a stud running back, but on Friday night, we might have thrown the ball 40 times and you only had 5 carries and you didn't score. So, putting your team's success above your own success. And I think our kids do a really great job of that. It teaches them being part of a family, trusting the guy next to you. And again, that's why, I tell our kids, man, it's the greatest sport on this planet because it does teach so many great life lessons that are going to help you be a better father, going to help you be a better husband, going to help you be a better employee, coworker, because when you get into the real world, I mean, unless you're a solo entrepreneur, you still have to deal with other people.
Sure.
You've got to be able to communicate. You've got to be able to put whatever goal it is with your family, with your work, whatever goal that is, you got to put your maybe aspirations behind what the goal for everybody in that entity is. So I love football, man. It taught me a lot of great things. I mean, in college, you're getting up at 6 a.m. when you might not want to, having to go lift, then having to go to class, then having to go to film, then practice, so just that whole dedication piece too is going to really help you out in life when you got to get up for work, you got to get home from work, you got to take the kids to practice, you got to get home, you got to cook dinner. I mean, it's the same type of thing, just in a different little bubble,
Yeah, without a doubt. And I know that, I absolutely fit the mold of a Walmart Wolverine. I never played high school football, but I swear to God,
Nothing wrong with that, man.
hey, I could watch football every day of the week, every hour of the day. I just can't get enough of it. And with what Davison did last year, with what the University of Michigan did last year, with what the Lions did last year, I mean, we've been feasting on good football in this area. And I'm so excited.
Oh, it was the best year for the state of Michigan, man. It was awesome.
Oh, without a doubt. So as we look forward to this fall, again, not trying to rush summer, I really want some nice weather. But as we look
Right.
towards the fall, looking at your schedule here, we've got De La Salle, Granville, Traverse City Central, Saginaw Heritage, Saginaw United, East Lansing, Carmen Ainsworth, Grand Blanc, and of course the coup de grace, Lapeer on October 25th. These are all really good teams. So, I mean, what do you do in preparation for that as we move into this, 24-25 schedule? When you look at the schedule, like, man, we got some heavy hitters right off the rip here.
Yeah, I mean, we got, week 1, we play Warren De La Salle down at Wayne State for the Zenith Prep Kickoff Classic. They're going to have a little chip on their shoulder because they think we stole one from them last year with that comeback with a minute left.
Hey, yeah, let's hit the pause button right there. Watching the second half of that game at Cardinal Stadium, that was some of the most engaging and entertaining football I've ever seen. Personally, professionally, across the board. My God, did we work our tails off to pull out the W?
Man, I agree, Johnny. That was a amazing win. And talk about excitement.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nuts. Somebody asked me, Coach, what's the favorite game that you've been a part of? And I said, the second half of the Warren De La Salle game at home on Saturday. What about the state title game? I said, no, that one was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I apologize for interrupting, but man, that was so much fun to go watch that the following day, the follow up to that game. I'm like, holy cow, this is craziness.
Yeah. And, so we play them week 1. I mean, they're going to be tough. They're going to be coming after us. And then we got to go all the way to the west side of the state. Play Granville. Our other out-of-league game is East Lansing. They're always tough. They got a tailback who's got USC offers, Florida State. So they're going to be a really tough opponent. And our little brother over there in Grand Blanc, they always give us a good fight.
Yep.
And then Lapeer. So we got to be ready. I'm super excited for the season. I think we have a great group of kids. We have a lot of returning players, even coming off a state semifinal appearance. We only lose 2 guys on offense. We lose 4 on defense. We have a lot of returning starters coming back. We have a lot of really talented players coming back. And then, more importantly than any of that stuff is we have a great group of individuals, just a great group of humans. They understand we before me. They love the family aspect. They know what it takes. And, they're super excited to get going. And I mean, again, we started back in January, so they've been working really hard to put themselves in a good position to have a great fall.
Well, Coach, this has been a phenomenal interview. We appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. We know your schedule is busy. We had a little bit of a reschedule here, but we appreciate you making the time because we know you're a busy guy. You give a lot of credit to Beamer, but you're always walking with purpose too, my friend, and we appreciate that.
No, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm glad I could share a little insight on the program, and, it's great. Davison football, I'm telling you, Davison community. I've been other spots. There's no other place I'd rather be in the whole state of Michigan than Davison.
Well, and one thing that we could probably do is maybe we'll have a season recap after we raise the title here in Davison for 2024. How about that?
That's the plan, man. State championship or bust. We're not going to get one game before and lose this year. So that's our goal. That's what we're working towards. And hopefully we can bring that home to our community because they support the heck out of us day in and day out.
Well, we appreciate it, Coach. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
All right, boys, take care. Have a good afternoon, and go Cards as always.
Hey, go Cards. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys, I appreciate you.